Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 5 of The Captain's Heart. Jeremy stepped into his quarter, intent on sitting down, going over Dr. Rumali Armstrong's latest theorem, and just taking it easy for the rest of the day. The sight that welcomed him as the door slid closed behind him made accomplishing that suspect. Clothes were piled on his dresser, waiting to be folded and put away. Prototypes were on the table in the sitting area, as well as the seats. Some were waiting for him to look them over to find the defect in the printing. Most needed to be returned to the technical labs for the techs to work out why the prints hadn't followed the schematics. Most likely the machines needed to be cleaned, but some might need to be realigned. Not his department, but one he depended on for his reactors to be built. The pile of paper he kept on the bedside table to jot down sketches of ideas had somehow fallen over. Bags containing, he couldn't remember, lined the wall. On one surface not covered by things that didn't belong there, the one surface not covered by things that didn't belong there was the bed. He really needed to go through everything and, at least, dispose of what wasn't useful. Stepped around the bed and put the papers back on the side table, stacking them properly. The stylus wasn't there. He spent 10 minutes looking for it, initially trying to remember where he'd seen it last, which was the previous night when he'd grabbed it to make a quick sketch and he'd put it back on the table. When he found it, it was under the dresser. How it had made it there, he didn't know. Even being pushed off the table couldn't have given it the momentum needed to cross the distance. After that search, the idea of dealing with more of this clutter no longer appealed to him. He printed a simple meal and ate it while resting against the counter. He really needed to clean up the place. Once he was done eating, which came after dessert, tonight he printed an apple pie. The empty plate hadn't finished falling into the recycler when the door chime sounded. "Come in," he called, and the door opened in response. The door opened in response to the command. Omar stepped in and stopped. "Well, this is a sight. Didn't you say you were going to clean up the last time I dropped by?" "It's a work in progress." His friend looked unconvinced. "Do you even know where your pills are in this mess?" "Bedside table drawer. Same place as I always keep them." Jeremy took them out at the disbelieving look Omar gave him. The 3 pills barely made any sound as he shook the bottle and showed it to him. "Doesn't sound like you have many left. Do you want me to authorize a print of another bottle?" "I'm fine." Jeremy let the bottle fall in the drawer. "My stomach hasn't acted up since I put those new techs through the ringer 2 months ago." He hip-checked it closed. "What can I do for you? I thought you dropped by just to make sure I didn't need meds or to comment on the state of my quarters." "We're going to the theater. Cat burglar finally arrived." Jeremy took his tablet off his schematic design desk and brought up the list of waiting messages. "I don't see anything about that." Omar rolled his eyes. "And have you just sent your quick 'I'm too busy to enjoy myself' message? I know you too well, Jeremy. If you don't want to spend time with your friends, you are going to have to tell me that to my face." "Omar, I have..." He trailed off, looking at the mess in the room. This was what he had to deal with if he stayed here. "You know what? A movie sounds like a good idea." He grabbed his jacket, put his tablet in a pocket, lit away. A comedy would lend itself more to him relaxing than being reminded of the cleaning he needed to do. The Kelsirian on the screen were a mix of height and mass that was purposefully comical even before the broadest of them, and clearly not the brightest, got stuck in the doorway leading to the financial ship's safety vault. He or she, Kelsirians were designed in a fairly neutral sexual way, kept pushing, trying to force their way through without result, until one half their height and a fraction of their mass grabbed a paw and pulled, forcing them to twist and pass sideways. Jeremy figured slanted the male slanted androgyny was because they hardly ever wore shirts or jackets, even covered with fur. Breasts weren't something appropriate for comedies. But it could make for great comedy when the cats were in heat and had to figure out the correct gender of their would-be romantic partner. Something of a low-hanging fruit, in Jeremy's opinion, but even when handled by new directors, it was a good for a few chuckles. The small cat in white, orange, and gray fur opened the lock with a deft use of claws and rearranged the insides. He'd been shown to be the brain of the groups. The lanky one next to him in all black fur was the agile one, although his eyesight left something to be desired, which had caused more than one misjudged jump as they evaded the ship's guard. The layout of the ship made no sense. Too many open spaces the cats had been able to take advantage of to evade capture. Not enough people for them to run afoul of. Even a cargo ship always had passengers occupying available rooms. No ship captain left space going to waste like that. The cat burglars' competency had been demonstrated throughout the movie by how well they got themselves out of the pratfalls having to deal with human-built system had caused. It made the comedic moment hit harder when the cats not being completely incompetent. The door opened, revealing the empty room except for the treasure on the pedestal in the center. Jeremy had forgotten that what was supposed to be contained within the golden box, not that it mattered for what was about to happen. Janice groaned and Jeremy fought the chuckle as the cats looked into the room, greed easy red on their face. Please tell me they aren't going for that one, Marcel whispered loudly enough. Someone in the row behind theirs shushed him loudly. The cats leaped into the room, their different size, mass, and strength, explaining how each landed in a different spot, but to the same result. They fell, muzzle first, onto the carpet that lined the room. That lined the floor. Their foot claws tangled in the threads. Jeremy was already laughing at their antic. Then they tried to push up, and their hand claws caused the same problem. The cats were still fighting the carpet, trying to stand when the security officers arrived. The impotent cat's glares were accompanied by hissing as the humans approached. Who'd have thought you bunch would be defeated by something as simple as a carpet? The one in charge asked, unhooking from his belt the thing all cats feared. William snorted. Anyone who's seen one of these, he, too, was loudly shushed. Jeremy found it amusing that the director had the characters pause long enough for the exchange to happen before they continued. You know what we do with cats who've been bad, right? He leveled the water bottle at the largest of them. You get sprayed. The audience sounded an equal amount of groan and laughter at what had to be the worst joke in the movie. The volume of water that exited the bottle was utterly unrealistic, as was the state of the water. The water left the cats in, even the largest of them being reduced to a small frame and wet fur. But Jeremy had trouble breathing. He laughed so hard. It wasn't until the screen faded to black as the guard hauled the cats away and the name of the people involved in creating the movie scrolled up that he was able to catch his breath. Oh, this was worth the wait, he said, chuckling again as the image of what amounted to stick figures covered in fur had their claws untangled from the carpet. Aren't you happy you came? Omar asked, sitting on the other side of Lucy. Yes, yes. Thank you for forcing me to attend this memorable event with all my friends. Or, oh, great doctor of mine. I'm glad Omar talked you into coming, Jenny said. You spend too much time in your head. I'm an engineer. I don't think the science. If I don't think, the scientists don't get new toys to play with. You should make toys for you to play with, Alice said. He leaned forward so he could look past everyone else. And what makes you think I haven't made any of those? Can I borrow one? Marcel asked. You want toys? You can make them yourself, Jeremy replied, standing. I'll exchange you my newest recipe, his friend said, stretching. A man doesn't share those kind of toys with other men, Omar said with mock severity. Janice hummed, implying that Jeremy would be willing to share them with a woman. She batted her eyes at him. I don't think you're designed to enjoy them, he replied. She took his arm in hers. You never know. I'm quite creative. He laughed and led her out the theater. So, what are we doing? Marcel asked. I could do with food, Lucy groaned as Jeremy took his buzzing tablet out of his pocket. How are you still hungry? We stopped at the mess hall before the movie. Better yet, where did you put all that? You ate 3 times as much as I do, and you're thinner. I come from good genetic stock, he replied with pride. Whatever you decide, Jimmy said, frowning at the message, it's going to have to be without me. Problem? Omar asked. No, I just need to be some elsewhere. Thanks for getting me to come. I had a fun time. We need to do this again soon. There's a Tahornian adventure movie scheduled to reach us in a few days, Alice called. I'd rather a comedy, but so long as we get to hang out, I'm good with it. Then he was too far to participate in the conversation. Jeremy stepped to the counter. Jeremy Bradshaw introduced himself to the woman on the other side. I got a message saying you have something for me. She glanced to the left, and he barely made out the text scrolling across her optic. Yes, she stepped among the shelves and of parcels. It came in on the last ship from Earth. Jimmy frowned. He hadn't ordered anything. She returned with a standard shipping box, a foot wide and a foot and a half wide, 1 deep and 9-inch high. What is that? A shipping box, she replied dryly. I mean, he stopped at the look she gave him. It wasn't like she'd know. It was illegal for anyone other than a recipient to open it. Thank you. He was still puzzling over what the package might be when he entered his quarter. Package identification accepted, the room computer said. Linked message has been retrieved from archive. Do you wish the message from Maria Bradshaw to play? Of course. Leave it to his mother to link a message to a package she sent him. Her face appeared on the wall effaced. Her gray hair seemed thinner than the last time he'd seen her. She'd sent him a message, but otherwise she looked as healthy as usual. Hi, Jeremy. I've been doing spring cleaning here. It's spring here as I'm recording this. I have no idea what season it's going to be by the time you receive the package, which is when you should be listening to this, if those things work the way they claim. If you haven't received it yet, just archive this and listen to it then. It worked fine, Mom, he told her image, chuckling. Well, as part of cleaning, I found your old puzzle box, and I figured you'd want it. Sounds like there's something in it, but I have no idea what. I never could figure out those things, which I'm pretty sure is why you loved it so much. I won't be surprised if you were hiding images of women wearing far less than is appropriate in there, young man. She chuckled. If that's the case, I hope they bring back good memory now that you're old enough to look at those without having to worry about me catching you. He hurried to take out the shipping box, perplexed as to what she could mean. He didn't remember having a puzzle box. Let's see, what happened since the last message? Byron is dating a new woman. I think he might finally be serious about someone. So please let whoever you need to know that you might have to take a trip back for the wedding. I'll make sure you know with plenty of time to make it back. The box was made of wood and artistically arranged. Arrangement of slate in a herringbone pattern on all sides. There was no latch or hinges. He'd owned this? Marco's starting university this fall. We're going to have a doctor in the family, so no need to fly to the city whenever one of us gets sick. His mother smiled broadly. So broadly, Jeremy's attention was pulled from the box. Beth's pregnant. You are going to be an uncle. She, she's she's filled with worries, but I keep reassuring her that she will make a wonderful mother. Motherhood is always amazing. Anyway, I should probably end this now before it gets too expensive. Oh, how is it going with Kathy? Are you two sharing a quarters yet? What's the policy about coworkers dating? All right, I'll wait for your reply and end it there. End it here. Be well, Jeremy. We all miss you. What had he told his mother about Kathy? He remembered mentioning her name as one of the tech he worked with, because his mother was always on him to find someone to settle with. But he was sure he hadn't indicated he had an interest in her. He'd have to. A piece of wood moved, and he looked down. One of the slats was poking out of the side, and as he watched, something filled him. Not a memory. He didn't remember the box itself, but a feeling of wonder and the sense of wood sliding and snapping into place. A thrill as he placed items inside. His fingers danced over the box, feeling for the next slat to move, and he was still searching when the yawn broke his attention. He called up the time and was amazed and annoyed at not having found the next piece to move in the hour he hadn't realized had passed. And that concludes chapter 5 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Stories. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.